Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. A quick look at testing co-processors here for the Amiga. So these are the PLCC type. Yeah, you need to wear an ESD wrist strap when handling these, but you know what, these are both faulty. These two, and this is a bit of a discussion about fakes and things as well. You can see it's, well, you might be able to see there, smart MC6888, 382 FN40A. One of these goes super hot instantly, like there's a short, which makes me think it's not even the right type of chip. You've got, like, can you see, look at the surface of it, it's kind of like a different kind of black that you would expect. It's being sprayed. Someone sprayed that, and yeah, they've put a fake label. They've even sprayed the underneath as well. And the other one just doesn't boot. The system doesn't boot, so it might be a genuine one, but I think it's faulty. And they could both be genuine ones that are faulty, but not 40 megahertz. They might be like 12, 16, something like that, 20s that have been sprayed. But anyway, one of them shorts out completely. That's the first tip I would give you is, wear an ESD wrist strap, obviously, but when you've fitted one of these to your system and you're about to test it, just put your finger on it as you're holding the power on. Don't touch the connections, but just the chip. And if it goes super hot, switch off instantly, because you could kill something in your system. That's the first thing. So in terms of testing, get this Amiga Intuition-based benchmark, AIBB. You can find this online, lots of places to download it. And I'll just show you something. If I just untick these, this is how it loads as default. And if we do the beach ball test, and I'll have to jump cut this because look how slow that is. Sorry it's over bright, but yeah, that takes ages to render. You're going to be waiting minutes for that to render at least. Short jump cut later, still going. Obviously it speeds up, it goes down towards the bottom here, but yeah, it's crazy slow just using the processor. So it shows you how how much of a processing intensive thing that is in terms of floating point calculations and stuff. It's nearly done, nearly there, nearly finished. Come on. Is it done? Nearly, there we go, finally. So yeah, what you can do, why that changed to 40 math, I don't know, I might have just clicked on it. If you do co-processor math, you click on these, any that you can change to CP math, there we go. So we've changed it to co-processor math, so now it's using the FPU. You can see it's registered there as a 68882. Did I get 3 8s in there? I can never remember I can't count when I'm doing it. And if we now do the beach ball test again, just watch the speed difference. Look at that. I've got to thank one of my friends, actually. I'll stick his name up top left, because it was him that I found this information from. Check out his channel. So yeah, you can see how much faster that was. That just goes to show that the 68882 is working. I mean, you could repeat that number of times. The other thing is, it's going to affect all of the tests. It's not just the beach ball. Anything else that might be able to use the co-processor, maybe some of the floating point operations, that should ramp up significantly. In fact, we could perhaps try that. I'm assuming that flops, they've got a flops test of some sort. They're flops. Let's just do that. I'm guessing that's floating point ops. And I'm guessing you'd use the 68882 because of the way I've got it set. So you can see there on the left, jumped up to 120. If I was to set these back to single CPU, I think it stands for SC, math, and do flops, it's going to drop considerably, I would assume, I think. Don't quote me until you've seen the evidence. Yeah, there you go. Look how much that's dropped. It was like 10 times faster. So yeah, you can use this here. Let's say just put these to co-processor math, and yeah, any of the tests that use the FPU, do floating point operations, you'll see a significant increase in performance. But the beach ball and the flops are the obvious ones to test. So those first two that I showed you at the beginning of the video, those were from a different seller. So he's had a feedback suitable. And I've had a refund, but I ordered 2 more, so this is the first of the 2 that I ordered. So I'll just carefully get the PLCC extractor in there and just carefully squeeze. Oh, don't break, please. Yeah, squeeze and pull. It helps if I'm not filming. There we go, it's come out. Oh, I've just nearly scratched it. Oh, come on, there we go. So yeah, sorry, I made a mess of that. I haven't mangled anything, all the pins are straight. So that one actually is a good one, and it's not warm. So we'll test the final one here. So this will be the 4th one. We've got 2 faulty, 1 okay so far. Let me just get the notch the right way around. Yeah, that's right, wants to go that way. Just carefully get it into position and press it in. I don't like taking these in and out of these sockets, I really don't, because you know, you can break them, you can slip and scratch the tops of the chip the corners off if you're not careful. It depends how tight the socket is. So as I described at the beginning, I'm now going to put my finger just onto the centre of the package before I power it up, and just make sure it doesn't get super hot. And I think it's alright, I'm not feeling any heat, and I can hear it booting. So that's sounding promising. I might have actually found a seller that has sold me some genuine ones by the looks of things. I mean, they still might be marked up in terms of the speed, but some sellers, when they're doing this, they're actually testing them at 40 megahertz, and I'm happy for them to do that. If they're going to do that, sell fakes, fair enough, but just make sure they work. Make sure they work. Make sure they don't overheat and they're actually okay. This is the thing. It's all very well trying to trick people into a sale, and if you're selling something that's up to the job, I don't see. Well, I do see a problem. They're still trying to masquerade the thing as something else, but still, at least you're getting what you paid for, in the sense that it performs and does the job that you're expecting it to do. Does that make sense? That's where I think the annoyance is for me. So if we do beach ball again, yeah, it's looking all right. Look, it's zooming along. I mean, obviously, you would need to. I'm just going to test the temperature again. Let's just feel it. Yeah, stone cold. So a quick look at the two different types of package here. So this is what we've been looking at in this video here, the PLCC type. This one's a faulty one, and I'm going to inspect this a bit closely in a minute, a bit further. Can you see these black marks here? Can you see that? It's like overhang of the paint. Someone has sprayed this, I'm sure. It's like a really mysterious kind of shade of black. So that one's PLCC. I forget exactly what the acronym stands for. It's plastic leaded carrier chip or something like that, I think. PGA pin grid array, and as you can see, it's a grid of pins. Yeah, so you have to be obviously more careful with these in terms of inserting them into a socket and removing them. You've seen me use a PGA removal tool before, but you could use a flat bladed screwdriver, just lift it up a little bit on each side as you work your way around. You'll have to go around it a number of times before you can gradually raise it out of socket. So the 68881 was the first chip, the 68882 was a subsequent revision. Now the pin compatible, I mean, despite the fact these are different ones, you can get you might be able to get a PGA version of this one, and you might be able to get a PLCC version of the 68881 here. But the 68881 came to market first, and you might be wondering, why would you have a processor for FPU? Why not just like merge it with a CPU? And it's because there was not enough space on the CPU die. You know, it takes up an awful lot, you know, of silicon, if you like, back then. These days, FPUs are built into CPUs as well as many other similar sorts of things, you know, for accelerating all sorts of different codecs like MP3 and all the different sort of video formats, you know, to do with Blu-ray and all that sort of stuff. But back then, it was a lot of space on a chip, and the cost as well. So they figured that most people probably wouldn't want an FPU. A CPU is good at handling integer math. So you can have, you know, on a 16-bit CPU, up to 16 bits, and maybe 1 bit at the beginning of the 16 bits. You know, so you've got 15 bits of the actual number itself, and the first bit would represent the sign, i.e., is it a positive number or a negative number? And when it comes to doing mathematical functions in a normal processor, you know, a 68000 or a 68020, 030, etc., there'll be math instructions in there to, you know, add numbers, subtract numbers, multiply, etc. And it can the CPU is capable of quite easily, because it's designed to work with those fixed integer types. You know, it's an industry standard type, having a sign at the beginning or whatever, and it's got a sign bit inside there. It's really, you know, and it's one of its registers. It's probably multiple, I would think, and it's very easy for it to take two of those, you know, say 16-bit integers and do a mathematical operation. But when it comes to floating point, it's a little bit more complex. You have a sign, but then you have what's called the mantissa, and then the exponents, so it's split into like 3 parts, and just the very complexity of that means that in terms of using a normal processor that's got integer math instructions, you would have to do a number of instructions. It could be, I don't know, several or a dozen, or depends on what the calculation is you're trying to do. So you can end up, it's very slow, it ends up being very slow. You can do floating point math on any processor, but it can be very, very, very slow, you know, like, I don't know, 10 times slower than it would be on something like this. This has got instructions hard-coded in there and registers and things in a pipeline designed to work with that. You know, I think in this case it's something like 80-bit, I think. So you've got like a 64-bit mantissa with a sig sign on it, and then a 15-bit exponent, and it's been designed to do that. It's been designed to do nothing but math to do with floating point numbers, so it's super quick at doing it. The other thing is these run can run at a different speed to the processor. So in one of my boards I've got here, a 4000, you'll see it in a later video, the CPU's coming up at 25 megahertz, but the FPU on one of them is at 32, and on another board it's coming up at 40. So you can have a different clock speed. Typically you'll just change the crystal. There'll be a crystal on the board somewhere where you've got one of these, so this uses its own crystal. Sometimes there'll be a jumper you can set so that this uses the same speed as whatever your CPU's running at. So the only difference between these is the 6882, I think, could handle more than one calculation at once. It could do more than one instruction at a time. So, and I think Motorola quoted it, and I got this stat from the wiki there, 40% up to 40% faster in places. But the instruction sets are pretty much identical. I think this, let's say, can just do a little bit more than that one, but the pin compatible and instruction compatible. So your main CPU, while it's going along, if it gets something to do, if it gets an instruction that needs an FPU, it can, tell this what to do, and then this gets on with it and releases the CPU. So the two can run in parallel. You can't just stick one of these in any old board, obviously. You need a socket there for an FPU. Now, you could, in theory, modify an A500 or even an ST. There are certain models, obviously, that support them off the bat. I've got a card here I'll show you in a sec, a 2630. But you just need, something that sits on the buses there, the data and the address bus and stuff. It's got to be powered. And it would need a chip select. But you just need some address decoding and a socket. And you could pretty much fit this into anything, maybe like an Ansari ST or an A500. I'm sure there's plenty of mods and things out there. There might be some homebrew ones where you can build something yourself and stick it into an Amiga. I've definitely seen one for an ST. An ST is pretty simple. It's just like a couple of TTL, 74 series chips, and connected up, and jobs are good. And so this is an A2630. If I could just carefully pull the lid off this, the processor and FPU sitting here. Look, so you can see. Yeah, I think that one's a 6882. Looks like it, but this, like I say, is interchangeable. These 6881s, you can just plug them in there, and I think that's the crystal position there for the dedicated crystal for this. So what's that running at the moment? 25 megahertz. Yeah, so that's probably stock. So the main 68030 in here would be running at 25 megahertz. You'd probably change that jumper over and fit a different crystal here, maybe 40 or 50, and that could quite happily probably run at 50. A lot of the 6882s were rated to go at higher clock speeds. Even something that says 16 or 20 or 25 megahertz on it, you'll find you can get 33, 40, 50. Certainly the 40s. I don't know about the PGA ones, but certainly the PLCC ones that are marked 40 or just less than 40, 33 maybe, or something like that, will go up to 50. So that's the speed of the one that's running, as you saw in this video, on my Terrible Fire. And here's another example. This is a processor card that I've recently recapped, as you'll see later, for an Amiga 4000. So you can see we've got a quad flat pack version of the 68030 here. It's the EC version, so I don't think it has the MMU. And you've got the FPU here. You can see it's 6882 again. Now the interesting thing with this one, originally when I first saw this, my first time looking at one of these in a long while, the crystal here, I thought, someone's overclocking this 25 megahertz chip here to 40. That isn't the case. I think this is getting its clock from the actual motherboard. Actually, you can probably specify where it goes, where it gets the clock from, because there are some jumpers on the A4000. But that 40 megahertz, yeah, that's what the CPU's running at here. So if I benchmark this now with some software, it goes, your CPU's running at 25, but your FPU's running at 40. So you could easily, and this has been swapped out by someone in the past, you could easily just desolder that and put a new crystal on there. Put a socket. You can get crystal sockets, actually. like a crystal carrier. It's just like a little frame with the 4 pins there, and you can see this one's actually rated at 40. Can you see that? I don't know, you can see on the end there it says 6882 FN40A, so it's got a crystal exactly the same speed. You could put a 50 in there. I've got some 50s, I might just do that in a later video, but I'm sure that would run at 50. And before I forget, you can see here there's you could fit a socket for a pin grid chip, or you could just solder that on. You've got to get pin 1 the right way. That little thing there indicates pin 1. So yeah, you could literally solder that on there like that. And I think one of these jumpers here, there you go, you can see it says FPU lock, FPU PGA. So there's a couple of jumpers here. Interestingly, I think this board maybe supports an 020 as well or something. I think that might be what this is here, but it would need a GAL there, and you need a GAL on your 4000 motherboard as well. But anyway, nevertheless, I thought I'd just show you that. And these FPUs obviously will work with like a 68000, 68020, 68030. As soon as you got to the 68040, it was an option, I think. Well, I say an option. There was versions of the 68040 that lacked the FPU, and I think there was a version of the 68040 that lacked the MMU and FPU. But typically, I think, and I could be wrong. Correct me below if you know otherwise. But I think there was a 68040 with an FPU. There's certainly a 68060 with an FPU. I'll just show you one. Yeah, so here we go. This is a 68060 with. I think this contains an FPU and an MMU, so it's a 68060 RC50, and it's a genuine one. This is a genuine R6, as you'll see in a future video, but that contains an FPU and an MMU. It's interesting how these things got so much bigger, isn't it? But then again, it needs to. So it's doing so much more. Yeah, so you might want to do extensive testing before relying on something like this or selling them after you've tested them. But finger on the top of the chip now, not touching any pins, stone cold. So yeah, I think these are good. The seller has sold me a couple of good ones, and you might want to do more extensive testing with things like Lightwave. Get a really complex scene and render something that takes a few minutes, and again test the temperature, make sure it's okay, make sure everything looks okay, system doesn't crash. But yeah, they're pretty good. So as I've said a few times in this video, there's very few places you could actually make use of this. You could use it with a browser, NetSurf is it called. Yeah, the latest version of NetSurf. I think it's fairly well maintained, NetSurf. That will work with an FPU. If you've got 68030 and an FPU, it will. I don't know how it's used. I think it's used for accelerating the rendering of the display and stuff like that. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. It might be to do with some of the JavaScript side of things. I've got no idea. Well, Lightwave as well, another sort of 3D CAD, or maybe some of the graphics packages, specific ones, not like Deluxe Paint, I don't think that would use it, but maybe some of the higher end sort of DTP type software, those would probably work with an FPU. Finally, there's another example of an FPU socket. This is on GVP. Great Valley Products Accelerator card. It doesn't work this, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to resolve this. It's one of these cards that's got, it's got GALs, PALs here, and it's like trying to source replacements for these. I don't even think the code has been dumped. The JEDECs don't exist for these, I don't think. Someone must have them somewhere, but I'm sure that's what it's going to be. It's just completely dead, this. And just as we saw on the other card, there's a socket here for another crystal. So, the CPU can run at a different speed to the FPU. So let's just have a look at this and just see if there's anything slightly mysterious about this. I'm going to just try and scratch it a little bit and see if that makes any difference. Yeah, can you see it's like black stuff coming off? That's not normal. You wouldn't normally be able to scratch it that easily like that. I am sure. The thing that made me suspicious was like this. It's dull, but it's not just dull. It's like little. If you inspect it really close, you can see like an overhang, like on the sides with the black. So someone has actually just sprayed this, I think. I wonder if I should just go and get some nail polish remover or something and have a go at this. I don't know. Yeah, do you see that? I've managed to scratch the number off. The number's usually etched into the top. I should not be able to do that at all. Well, whatever it's painted with, it is resistant to acetone, I think. Or is it? Hang on. Yeah, it's looking really weird. On Super Macro here, I'm not sure if you can see, there's like I could see it a minute ago. It's like a weird bit of black paint just on there, on the edge. Let's just have a look around these other sides. I guess I've rotated it the wrong way around. Yeah, it looks painted to me. I'm sure it's painted. On one side, I did see, it might be this side here. I won't be able to tell at this point in time, but when I watch it back, I might be able to. Can you see here as well? That has been painted, absolutely. Can you see here? That just goes to show it has got a coating on it. See if we can widen it out. We might even be able to work out what it actually is. I wonder if it's like a 16 or a 25 or something else. I mean, bear in mind, one of these two chips here does not do anything at all apart from short the power rails out. So it might not even be an FPU. I don't think I'm going to get any more information from that, because I think what they've done is they've smoothed the surface of it off to start with, ground it down, just to make sure there's no remnants of anything, because there perhaps would have been some indentation as the, you know, if you look at this one here, where you've got the part number on the front, it would have been sort of stamped in a little bit rather than just printed as ink. That one's like an ink. I mean, this one was stamped on a minute ago, but after just smoothing it a bit, you can see we've got a different colour in the middle. It's like, and the black stuff here is coming off. It's like a black powder. They didn't paint these. That's the thing. It's like a plastic thing. It's either plastic or ceramic. So someone has definitely put a black coat on top of that, and hopefully you might have been able to see that on the edge there. There's like a little bit of black paint just overhanging on one corner, and it's the same with this one. And the pins kind of look mysteriously black towards the top a little bit in places, like you know, you could think it's corrosion, but as you inspect it, you're like, it's a really weird shade of black, like a, yeah, I do think that's what it is. I think these have been painted. And they may well be genuine chips, but they might be slower clock speed. Yeah, so only a super short video. We got two faulty, and I'll put these other ones into the SD bag. Got the one originally that I got with the 534 from 8-Bit Dreams, and the two that we've just tested. I've left one of the ones I've just tested in here now. I'm not going to take that out. I'm going to use that for a period of time. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you found that interesting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.